So who am I and who is Nicira? So I am Martin Casado. I am the CTO and co-founder of Nicira Networks, now part of VMware. And the goal of Nicira is to make network operations as simple as server operations when you look at virtualization. So a simple way to think about it is we set out to do to networks what VMware did to servers. Yeah, that's right. So if you look at IT and if you look at infrastructure in general, you normally talk about three pillars of the infrastructure, which is server, storage, and networking. And to run a successful IT operation, whether it's in the data center or in the campus, requires managing all of those. And if you look at servers, because of companies like VMware, the servers are virtualized, and so workloads can be created dynamically in software. They can be moved anywhere, and so there's this very nice operational model. This basic transformation has not happened in the network. So instead of having these nice software abstractions, these nice virtual abstractions, the network are managed physically and box by box. And if you look across the industry, normally the majority of operational overhead for creating a new workload happens in the network. So what Nicira does is, just like VMware gives you a virtual machine abstraction, we give you a virtual network abstraction. And that is a soft abstraction. It's virtualized. It can move anywhere. It's very simple to configure, and it's independent of the specific hardware. And so you'll have the same operational simplicity now on the network that you have with the servers. Instead of thinking about it in the way of reducing the need for more switches or more advanced features, I think there's an emergence of a new layer. So for example, VMware did not eliminate the need for Intel. In fact, Intel sold a lot more CPUs because of it, and it did not eliminate the need for servers, but it created a new layer of software that provided a lot of operational benefits. And so what I would like to submit is that Nicira will do the same thing with a network. You still need switches to pass packets. You still need hardware, and the pie will even grow bigger. But now we've got this new operational abstraction that's going to simplify the operators' lives. And so it's not a replacement, but an addition. I really believe that business drives behavior. And the biggest change from the procurement side is going to be choice, right? So now, with something like Nicira, a customer can choose between, do they want functionality being implemented on an x86, or do they want it in the specialized switching ASIC? They can create a virtual network abstraction, and that will run on any type of switching infrastructure, so they can choose on which vendor that they run that virtualized network on top of. So the biggest impact on the procurement side is going to be the choice of where do you run the functionality, and who do you buy the switches from. And today this is very difficult to do because switches often expose very specific and often vendor proprietary interfaces, and so it's very difficult to replace a switch with another vendor because you'd have to relearn how to do that. But if you have a virtual networking abstraction, all of that is insulated away from you, right? And so then you're operating on the virtual networking abstraction. You can run any type of hardware. And that virtual network, it can be implemented within x86 on the server or within a specialized switching ASIC. And again, it's up to the customer to choose which one they want to use. Absolutely, and in fact we do this today. So you'll find data centers where they have an existing switching fabric. Maybe it's an older one, an older model, and they will deploy us at the edge. And then we provide new networking functionality and software at the edge. And so we deploy totally non-disruptively. And so that alone is great because we add new functions without disrupting anything about the network. But then the network operators can say upgrade or replace their switching infrastructure to something that's either more current or maybe has a different model. And that can be done totally transparently and often with either limited or no downtime in order to do that. So it's very much like what you said, where if you run VMware, it doesn't really matter who's providing the hardware below. But I also want to make another point that's worth pointing out, that there's still the need for specialized hardware in this ecosystem. So just like in servers, maybe x86 is something that's merchant silicon, but you still have graphics cards where you're offloading a lot of functionality into hardware, and I think you'll see the same thing there in the networking ecosystem. So what is OpenFlow? So OpenFlow is a standard protocol for communicating with switches. And actually, I wrote the first draft of OpenFlow in 2007. And actually, Nicira, the first 3 engineers at Nicira, if I could call myself an engineer, the first 3 employees of Nicira built the first OpenFlow protocol, the first OpenFlow implementation. What it is the way it's a protocol for talking to switches so that you can control switches from a software program. So today, switches are normally controlled from a CLI by a human operator, and this allows a software program to control a switch. So if you're going to automate network infrastructure, you need something like OpenFlow in order to do that. Right, so why did VMware acquire Nicira? So if you look at what VMware did with servers, they changed the world. But to deploy a new application or to accept a new client into, for example, a data center, there's a lot more than compute that you have to consider, right? And so there's this kind of now becoming almost an old adage that in order to spin up a VM takes 2 minutes, but in order to spin up a workload because of all the firewalling and all of the network provisioning takes 5 days, and then the 2 minutes of the VM. So they realized that in order to have the agility that we want in the cloud, you need to virtualize all parts of the infrastructure. So you can create a virtual data center that you can spin up the entire thing in 2 or 3 minutes. In order to do that, you need to virtualize compute like VMware has already done, but you also have to virtualize the network, which is what Nicira has been working on. And so the reason that the fit is so natural is because we provide the networking portion of this more global vision. So what is Nicira's relationship with OpenStack going to be forward now that we're part of VMware? So, so as you know, Nicira's been a very, very heavy contributor to OpenStack. We have the technical project lead for the quantum piece. We designed much of the quantum piece. We have 4 full-time employees that work on OpenStack, especially networking. We've contributed a lot of code. And so there is a lot of concern in the industry that now that we're part of VMware, whether or not that will continue. So let me be extremely clear on this. Not only will it continue, it will accelerate. Nicira has a very, very deep commitment to open source, not just within OpenStack, within Open vSwitch, which is now part of the Linux kernel. This is something that we've been maintaining for years. And so VMware itself as a company has very publicly stated that they want to be a gold member of OpenStack. They've submitted the application to that they're going to continue to do support for it, and they want to move to supporting heterogeneous clouds, which include heterogeneous hypervisors, multiple hypervisors, and multiple cloud management stacks. So we are definitely still committed, and I think you'll see our commitment grow. So how has my life changed now that we're part of VMware? I am more excited now about what we're doing than I ever have been, and the reason is as part of a startup, you can have a lot of change working with a number of customers, and we were very successful at Nicira. I mean, we had some large customers that we launched with: AT&T, Rackspace, Fidelity, NTT, eBay, right? But the resources that you have at your disposal at a startup are relatively limited. And so why I'm so excited is as part of VMware, the visions align almost perfectly. And their reach is so broad that I think that now we'll really see networks change. So I think with Nicira, you saw the vision, you saw some great technology, you saw some great proof points, some great customer traction, but to actually have a global transformation does require a company with the resources of VMware. And so the way my life changes is, we're all working just as hard, we're all just as focused, but my excitement level has increased, a factor of 10. So what is my VMworld 2012 experience? Well, honestly, it's been totally overwhelming. I don't think I've ever been at an industry conference with this many people. They're all extremely smart, extremely technical, extremely excited. I've been in meetings from probably 7 a.m. to 11 every day. Every meeting has been great. And so, I've given probably 7 presentations now since I've been here. I've met with a number of customers, and I'm absolutely overwhelmed, and I'm enervated by the excitement that everybody feels here. So I'm feeling very happy to be involved, very happy.